Pay attention to this story. She told herself she was done with him. The divorce was final. The badge was off. But on one quiet night after her shift, something didn't sit right. So she did what cops are trained to do. She followed the pattern. He left work at the same time he always did, took the same roads, until he didn't. She stayed back. No sirens, no calls, just distance and instinct. What started as a routine drive turned into a trail she never expected to see again. Places he swore he'd never been, a stop he had no reason to make, and then the moment that broke her composure completely. Because the truth she uncovered that night wasn't just about him. It explained the lies, the silence, and why her marriage really ended. By the time she pulled over, she wasn't an officer anymore. She was just a woman sitting in her car, in tears, realizing some secrets don't stay buried forever. On October 12, 2019, at 9:41 p.m., a patrol car's dash camera captured a figure running across an unlit access road on the outskirts of Brookfield, Ohio. The person stumbled, recovered, and disappeared into the trees. 20 seconds later, a single gunshot echoed. The audio clipped, then silence. The report that followed was brief. A male, mid-40s, found deceased near a decommissioned quarry. Apparent robbery gone wrong. No witnesses, no immediate suspects. That explanation would not survive the week. Rewind. Earlier that evening, Detective Mara Ellison finished her shift at the Brookfield Police Department at 7:12 p.m. She logged out of the system, locked her desk, and declined an invitation from a colleague to grab coffee. Mara had plans, not official ones, personal ones. She followed her ex-husband. The decision had been building for months. After their divorce finalized in March, Thomas and Mara Ellison had agreed to a clean break, no shared property, no children, no lingering obligations. On paper, it was uncomplicated. In practice, it was not. Thomas had changed. He left his accounting firm abruptly in June. He stopped answering mutual friends' calls. His phone went dark for days at a time. And then there were the bank alerts, misdirected notifications from an old joint account he had forgotten to close. Cash withdrawals, large ones, always late at night, always just under reporting thresholds. Mara told herself it was none of her business. Then she noticed the car. A dark sedan began appearing outside her apartment at irregular hours, never parked, always idling for a minute or two, then gone. She reported it once. The plate came back clean, registered to a rental agency. On October 12th, Thomas left his apartment at 7:36 p.m. Mara waited 3 minutes. She followed at a distance she had measured and practiced. 2 car lengths in traffic, 4 on open roads. She kept her headlights low and her radio off. Thomas did not drive toward the city. He headed east, past the last row of lit storefronts, onto county roads that wound through farmland and scrub. He checked his mirrors. He slowed at intersections with no reason to slow. At 8:14 p.m., he pulled into a gravel lot beside the old quarry. Mara parked a quarter-mile back, killed her engine, and watched. This is the point where the obvious explanation begins to crack. Thomas was not meeting a buyer. He was not conducting a handoff. There was no exchange. He exited the car with nothing in his hands and walked toward the tree line. At 8:21 p.m., a second vehicle arrived. It parked without lights. The driver stayed inside. At 8:24 p.m., Mara stepped out of her car. She did not announce herself. She did not call it in. She moved along the fence line, staying low, her badge in her pocket. This was not an arrest. This was confirmation. At 8:31 p.m., she heard raised voices. She recognized one immediately. Thomas sounded afraid. At 8:33 p.m., the voices stopped. At 8:34 p.m., a gunshot. Mara ran. By the time she reached the quarry path, the second vehicle was already leaving. Tires spun on gravel, headlights flared, then darkness again. Thomas lay on his back near the water's edge, one wound to the chest, no weapon, no phone. His wallet was gone. The first officers arrived at 8:49 p.m. They found Mara kneeling beside the body, hands raised, face streaked with dirt and tears. She identified herself. She surrendered her firearm. She answered questions with a precision that felt mechanical. The initial narrative took shape quickly. A meet gone bad. Cash withdrawals suggested illicit activity. The missing wallet sealed it. But investigators noticed what was not there. No signs of struggle, no defensive wounds, no footprints beyond Thomas's own and the shooter's approach and retreat. And the timing was exact, too exact. They don't know this yet, but Thomas had been marked weeks earlier. Rewind again. Thomas Ellison's last stable year was 2018. He was meticulous, conservative, known for avoiding risk. That reputation made him valuable to a quiet network operating inside legitimate businesses. In May 2019, Thomas was approached by a client requesting help moving money, not laundering exactly, structuring, the client called it, avoiding attention, staying legal adjacent. Thomas refused at first, then the pressure came. Threats disguised as reminders, photographs of his apartment, knowledge of his routines. By June, Thomas was withdrawing cash under instructions, delivering it to drop points, always alone, always at night. He tried to stop in September. He sent a message saying he was done. The reply came within minutes. One word: no. The second vehicle at the quarry was Marcus Hale. Hale was a logistics coordinator for a regional construction supplier, on paper. In practice, he managed collections. He had no criminal record. He had discipline. Phone records showed Hale's device pinging towers along Thomas's route that night. Investigators found the pattern only after isolating numbers Thomas had contacted in the weeks before his death. One of them was saved under a false name, M. Money movement told the rest.
Between August 1 and October 10th, Thomas withdrew $247,000 in cash. The deposits reappeared in accounts tied to Shell subcontractors. Hale's company paid those subcontractors for work never performed. The planning was methodical. On October 11th, at 10:02 p.m., Thomas received a text instructing him to meet at the quarry the next night. No mention of money. That was new. At 10:06 p.m., he replied with a question. At 10:07 p.m., the response came: just talk. Hale arrived early on October 12th. He parked without lights. He waited. At 8:31 p.m., Thomas arrived on foot. He did not see Mara. He did not see the danger until it was close. At 8:33 p.m., Hale stepped out of the car. He carried a handgun with a suppressor, illegal, unregistered. Short sentences. 2 men, 1 weapon, no witnesses. At 8:34 p.m., Hale fired once, center mass. He took the wallet, not for money, for identification, to sell the robbery story. He drove away. The investigation stalled for 36 hours. Then a technician reviewed the dashcam audio from a patrol car that had passed the access road at 9:41 p.m. The running figure, the shot, the echo, the timing matched the medical examiner's estimate within 2 minutes. Investigators reclassified the case as homicide. They pulled Hale's call logs. They subpoenaed the rental agency. They traced the sedan to a corporate account linked to Hale's employer. At 2:18 a.m. on October 15th, officers executed a search warrant at Hale's home. They found the firearm disassembled in a toolbox. They found Thomas's wallet in a freezer sealed in plastic. They found a ledger listing cash movements by date and amount. Hale was arrested without incident. During interrogation, he denied everything. He blamed Thomas. He suggested the detective's ex-wife had staged the scene. The evidence did not support him. At trial, prosecutors walked the jury through the timeline minute by minute. They showed the texts, the tower pings, the ledger. They played the dashcam audio again and again. They emphasized the single shot, the lack of struggle, the intent. Mara testified on the fourth day. She described the follow, the voices, the moment she realized she was too late. She did not cry on the stand, not then. The jury deliberated for 6 hours. Marcus Hale was convicted of first-degree murder and conspiracy to commit financial crimes. He was sentenced to life without parole. In the weeks after the trial, the department reviewed Mara's actions. She received a formal reprimand for failing to call in the follow. She accepted it without protest. The case closed on paper. It did not close for her. Thomas's life had been reduced to withdrawals and messages and a body by the water. The investigation restored the truth, but it could not restore the man she had once known, the one who avoided risk, the one who thought he could handle it alone. The warning is simple and easily ignored. Criminal schemes do not announce themselves. They wear the shape of ordinary work, ordinary pressure. And when someone tells themselves they can manage it quietly, that no one else needs to know, the cost is often paid in isolation. At 8:34 p.m. on October 12th, a decision made months earlier reached its end. By then, there was no room left to escape.